Everybody, Aaron Cowan, Sage Dynamics, and this is my review of the Lantac Raven. So I know what you're thinking. Oh god, another AR-15. How many AR-15s do we need? Well, the Lantac Raven's not exactly new, but it is newer, and Lantac is a newer name to the AR market. The question always, of course, is going to be, if another AR-15 is offered from another manufacturer, is it actually going to be worth a look, or is it just going to be more of the same? As you can see, the Raven comes well equipped. It's got billet upper and lower receivers. It's got an M-LOK rail. Obviously, those are great things to have. That single stage CMC Lantac trigger is also a nice addition. I found the trigger to be very, very fast. If fast is something you're interested in, and let's be honest, we should also be interested in fast, because sometimes you need to go fast, and sometimes it's just fun to go fast. And of course, it has the venerable the Lantac Dragon muzzle brake. I have a love-hate relationship with the Dragon. It's in the name. You know you're going to get some muzzle flash out of it. And this is a 14.5-inch pin, the review gun that I did. So I'm not getting, with most ammo, the same muzzle flash that I'd get, say, if the Dragon was on, like, say, a 10-inch or even shorter. So I'm not having as much unburnt powder come out to create that gigantic fireball. But Lantac kind of knew what they were getting into with this design because they named it the Dragon. So the muzzle flash was, you know, well known. I'm not a huge fan of brakes in general, but I do like the Dragon for what it does. It keeps the gun really, really flat, and obviously flat is something that's very, very important to all of us. Recoil control techniques are obviously something that you should have. You shouldn't try to find a gear solution for a fundamentals problem, but if you add really good recoil control, really good rifle control, with something that's going to keep the muzzle flat, even if you have kind of bad muzzle control, and then you get a really flat, almost cliche laser beam-like rifle. Another great feature of the Raven is Lantac's EBCG, which I'm already a fan of. If you want to get more in-depth information on that, you can check it out on the channel. I've done a review specifically on that bolt carrier group in the past. That's something you can check out. Other features are kind of your standard fare. You've got Magpul furniture, which everybody loves Magpul furniture. Well, I'm going to be honest, not everybody loves Magpul, but I'm glad they went with something like Magpul versus trying to cut corners or get outside the box and use something new that hasn't been proven, or something that just isn't as ergonomic as Magpul is. Ambidextrous charging handle. It does have an ambidextrous safety selector if that's something that you're into. And of course, one thing that you see a lot of people doing these days is the ambidextrous bolt catch, or even the ambidextrous bolt catch and release, which the Lantac doesn't have, but most of us have been getting by our entire lives without one. It's not a huge deal just because it isn't a feature on the rifle. My standard review process for every single AR-15 I review is 2,000 rounds. For most ARs, almost all ARs, they're going to get a 500 round burn down, which means I'm going to shoot 500 rounds through the rifle as quickly as I can, kind of accelerating the life cycle. Another reason why I do this, because some people sometimes ask what's the point, is that it's sometimes not the amount of ammo you shoot, but the period of time it takes you to shoot it. So 500 rounds as fast as I can help identify problems that you might not otherwise see if you're using a sustained rate of fire of 200-300 rounds per range trip. The Raven made it through the 500 round burn down without a single hiccup, which I guess I wasn't too surprised about. It's very uncommon these days, especially with modern ARs and how many quality parts are out there, to find significant issues if someone has a mind towards quality in building their rifle. Before I fired a single round through the Raven, I did just a basic cleaning disassembly to get a look at what we were looking at. I was already familiar with the bolt carrier group, but I wanted to take a look at the entire package. And I was pleased to find that the tolerances were very, very tight. There's not any play in this rifle at all. I don't want to use the term fit and finish because that's kind of a nebulous throwaway term that doesn't really have any meaning. What I'm saying is everything fits, but it's not so tight as tolerances are going to create any kind of issue that I was able to experience in the 2,000 round review process because of those tolerances. You're not going to have particular issues based on ammunition that you select or accessories that you select or grips that you use because the tolerances are either too tight or too loose. As with any AR, I generally prefer to shoot suppressed. This Dragon accepts Gemtech suppressors, so I went ahead and threw my Gemtech 1 on the Raven and put 750 rounds through it just using the suppressed because I'm going to shoot most of my rifle suppressed, and suppressive shooting is usually harder on the rifle, all things considered, than you're going to experience from unsuppressed, especially on DI guns. Shooting the Lantac suppressed was great. I didn't get any gas blowback on my face, at least any undue amount. It still is a direct impingement gun. But the suppressor didn't create any issues with the rifle, no matter what ammo I fed it. And I mean, I shot 62 grain, 55 grain Wolf, 55 grain PMC, and 77 grain Black Hills while shooting suppressed. I think a lot of it is to do with Lantac's ABS, the adjustable buffer system. This is actually a really cool, kind of a very innovative idea in the fact that I can adjust the spring tension at the buffer. The buffer itself, the actual buffer, is adjustable. You have 3 different weights that you can choose from when you get your Raven. You can go with the heavier one for your heavier ammunition, or your lighter one, or even that actually kind of like a filler weight size. And it allows you to tune the rifle. There's an indexing point when you break open your upper and lower receiver, so you lock it in place, and then you can just use a screwdriver, a coin, or a shell casing, or what have you, and adjust your spring preload, which I found to be pretty innovative. I like that idea a lot. Initially, I was kind of apprehensive, but after playing with it across different ammunition types, suppressed and unsuppressed, I found it to be a very cool way to adjust things. Accuracy is always on the menu, right? We're all looking for that unicorn shot group. How accurate is the rifle going to be? Well, I put the Lantac Raven at 100 yards and shot a 5-round group. This is using 77 grain Black Hills. Hold on, let's look at that again. One more time. Hands down, the most accurate out-of-the-box AR-15 I've put hands on this year, and it's definitely in the top 10 of rifles I've ever owned, reviewed, or shot. That's pretty damn awesome. That's that mythical group that a lot of people are looking for out of whatever AR-15 they happen to buy. Shot groups cost money, and that's one thing that some people find out, much to their dismay, is that you're not going to get $2,000, $3,000 rifle performance out of $500 plus $500 in parts. It's just not going to happen. If you want out-of-the-box accuracy, just if that's what your main thing that you're shopping for is, the Raven definitely can provide you with that. Talking specifically about the trigger, 3.5 pound single stage. I like single stages because it's like a gas pedal. You can go really, really fast. I generally don't care for single stages when it comes to precision shooting. I like to have that initial take up and then a clean wall to set and then break against. With a single stage, that's all you get is that wall. So your initial pre-travel, your initial pull is all you're going to get to kind of prep the shot if that's a technique that you want to use. But as you can see from that shot group, this single stage trigger really didn't affect my ability to shoot the rifle accuracy, and it definitely allows you to get on the gas if you need to. Now, it is a cassette style trigger, a drop-in trigger, which some people don't care for, myself included. I'm generally not a fan of those because they tend to gum up quicker, and they're harder to clean out when shooting dedicated suppressed, especially with a DI gun. That being said, like I said, I put almost 1,000 rounds suppressed through the rifle during the review process, and the trigger is still running as clean and as crisp as it was from the very first round. Quality of the build, one potential issue identified when I received. Castle nut wasn't staked. Now I did put a witness mark on it to watch it, and realistically, if it's torqued to the proper torque specifications, it shouldn't come loose within 2,000 rounds, especially as hard as I tend to run the gun. I usually get those 2,000 rounds through the gun over the period of maybe 2, maybe 3 range trips, and one of them is 500 rounds as quickly as possible. So that's definitely something I didn't really care for. I wish it had been staked or at least treated with some kind of thread locker like Vibrotite. I talked to Raven about it and asked him specifically, like, is this, or I should say I talked to Lantac about it and asked him specifically, is this something that you normally do? Do you guys just not stake your castle nuts? I kind of wanted to get the reasoning behind it. They said it wasn't supposed to be that way. They recently switched over to kind of a proprietary castle nut, or the castle nut they're going to be using on future models. So this lower receiver may have just gotten lost in that process, and that's why it didn't get staked. No one really knows. That being said, it's not that huge of a deal. It made it through the 2,000 round review process without coming loose at all. It's something me as an end user I should check anyway and make adjustments on. Me personally, as soon as I'm done here, I'm going to go ahead and loosen it up and put some thread locker on and tighten it back down to torque. Bolt carrier group, like I said, there's a review on the channel already about that, but just giving you a quick look at that. It does have some unique features, and it's the gas key's properly staked, which is definitely something I'm interested in. General material is great. The gun got really dry, really dirty. If you shoot a gun suppressed, it might get wet, and then if you immediately take the suppressor off and you start running dirty or even cleaner ammo, it's going to dry out really quick, and that carbon's going to start to atomize. And this bolt carrier group really helped the gun continue to run regardless of those conditions. My final impression of the Lantac Dragon: it's awesome. I love this gun. I can't really overstate that. I think this is a great rifle. I'm really excited to have one of these. Initially, I was apprehensive about a few certain things, mainly the muzzle device, just because I prefer flash hiders. And I do a lot of night vision and low light shooting, and flash hiders really lend themselves well to that environment. Especially under night vision, you don't want something that is atrociously obnoxious as a Dragon necessarily, spitting those hot fireballs out when you're shooting under nods, because they can cause auto gating issues, and they just generally can be aggravating. What I found is it wasn't that bad. It wasn't as bad as I expected it to be. I'd had Dragons come through classes before on different rifles, especially SBRs and night vision classes, and it got to the point where I was telling students, don't bring Dragons to class if you have it on an SBR, just because it doesn't lend itself well to low light shooting or to night vision shooting. But I shot this probably a couple hundred rounds under night vision, just in my general practice, and I really didn't notice it that much. Of course, it could have been the ammunition I was using at the time, but that aside, and again, under low light, under white light, no issues really at all, just because that initial flash disappears so fast. Generally, the flash is gone before you're able to settle out a recoil for your next shot anyway, so that wasn't really that big of a deal. All things considered, huge 2 thumbs up, I guess, if I'm going to use that metaphor to describe my happiness about how well the Raven did. I expected it to do well, but I didn't expect to love it as much as I do. So if you're in the market for not just another AR-15, you want something that's going to be out of the box amazingly sub-MOA accurate, and has some very unique features, especially for those of you that like to shoot suppressed, or you just like to shoot fast and suppressed, or maybe just because you want another AR-15 and it's not just going to be the same as every other AR-15. You should definitely check out the Lantac Raven. I'm Aaron Cowan with Sage Dynamics. Train accordingly. Now I want to do a quick clip on the trigger speed. Yeah, the Mickey Mouse shirt. Oh, hi everybody. Oh, oh. Oh, 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 oh. It's on, isn't it?